Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of pewterreport.com. It is a Pewter post-game show and a joyous Pewter post-game show because finally the Bucs have won a game for the first time in over a month. They have ended their losing streak. They are now 4-5 on the season after defeating the Tennessee Titans by a score of 20-6, and everything is in front of them. They are still in the divisional race, especially after the Saints losing today. And Scott, you are live from Raymond James Stadium. I'm Matt Matera, by the way. That's SR Scott Reynolds. Scott, how are we feeling after a Bucs victory?
You know, it's been a minute, right? It's actually been more than a minute. It's been a long time since the Buccaneers have won a game. Not just any game, but a game at Raymond James Stadium too, right? It's certainly a weight lifted off this team's shoulders for sure. I thought that really both coaches did a really good job. Todd Bowles with the defense, Dave Canales with the offense, and the players really rebounded well from that Houston loss last week. That really could have easily spilled over into this week. But the rule of thumb is you can't let a team beat you twice. And I thought that and Todd Bowles even said it after the game, the leadership on this team made sure this team stuck together throughout the 4-game losing streak and through that horrible loss last week at Houston. And Matt, as you mentioned, right, the NFC South division is still there for the taking right now as we're going live here after the Bucs beat the Tennessee Titans 20-6. The Atlanta Falcons are playing the Arizona Cardinals right now. You mentioned the New Orleans Saints losing today to the Minnesota Vikings.
And Eric Carr left that game early, too. Jameis
correct.
Finished that game. So the Saints have a lot of questions.
2
Their wide receivers get arrested every single week, and now they don't have their starting quarterback. So the Saints got a lot of issues going on.
They really do, Matt. And you look at the Saints are now 5-5 on the season.
Yeah,
the Falcons are 4-5, and we'll see what transpires later today. And of course, the Buccaneers are 4-5 right now too. So the division is there for the taking. The good thing for the Buccaneers, and they'll probably lose next week, right, at San Francisco. Yeah. That's something we've talked about for a long time now. But you put that game aside, and there's so many winnable games down the stretch, including these divisional games. It's critical that they go back to Atlanta and steal that victory that the Falcons took from them here at Raymond James Stadium. Yes. It's critical that they sweep the Saints with that game later this year here at Raymond James Stadium. And then if they can do what they're supposed to do, just sweep the Panthers. This could be just like last year. That's something Mike Evans said at the podium. Yes. It's kind of like last year where if you hang in it long enough, you can win this division at the end, and it's still there for the taking for this Buccaneer team.
Yeah, we'll talk more about Mike because he had one of the oddest games of his career. Because you look at the stat line, you're like, wow, he played great. Over 100 yards, a touchdown, and then you watch the game and you see the number of drops that he had, and definitely a bit of a concern. But we got a super chat. Thank you to Zach Jarvis for the $4.99 super chat. It says, we just needed one more completion from Levis, Matt. Would have won $1,000, LOL.
Ooh, man.
Sorry, Zach. Had a lot of good picks today with NFL and the player props and the Bucs as well. Sorry you didn't win that 1,000, but it's credit to the Bucs defense. I think that's really the story of this for as bad as the Bucs defense was last week. We saw a couple of tweaks, a couple of things that we've really asked for as well, too.
Yes.
And, Scott, you and I talked about it throughout the week. Josh Capo and I talked about it on the game day show. Yeah. We need to see more consistent, sustainable pressure from the Buccaneers. And we really wanted to see it from their outside linebackers. It wasn't always from the front four. Devin White had a great day blitzing-wise. Antoine Winfield Jr. was in the mix. But and I get it, it's Will Levis, rookie quarterback, third career game. Right. Bad offensive line by the Titans. But Kalijah Cansey, Yaya Diaby, Shaq Barrett, a lot of these guys were in the face of Will Levis, Billy Jeans, time after time after time. And we've asked for that for weeks now. They were just disruptive. Vita Vea had a sack. Shaq had a sack. Kalijah Cansey was in the mix. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka still ain't doing nothing besides going on sides. But really loved what I saw just from a pressure standpoint by the Bucs today. And finally, that pressure led to an interception by a starter in the secondary. It took them 5 different times with the ball up in the. They could not come down with it, but
that's right.
Finally, Antoine Winfield Jr. Took one down.
Yeah, and I think it started on first down. I had a chance to talk to Todd Bowles exclusively after this game, and he said it started on first down, right? And getting the Titans behind the sticks, be off schedule with a young quarterback, that's really crucial. And they were able to do that. You look at Derrick Henry, just a masterful job by the Bucs defense. Henry finished with 11 carries for 24 yards, and it also had a 4-yard loss on his lone catch of the day. So they made it a concerted effort. You see Yaya Diaby here with one of his 2 tackles for loss. He also had a sack in the game, which was the second of the season. This is a guy that's really coming on, right? So they had a total of 10 tackles for loss today, Matt. 10.
Yes.
The Bucs came into this game averaging 3 tackles for loss per game. They more than tripled that today with 10. And Levante David had 2. Kalijah Kancey had 2. Devin White had 1. Shaq Barrett had 1. 2 for Yaya Diaby. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka had 1, and Vita Vea had 1. So they really did a great job of living in the backfield today. Yes. And honestly, this is the game plan they should have used last week in Houston. I know C.J. Stroud is a better quarterback than Will Levis. I know he's started more games. He's got more experience. But you have to pressure young quarterbacks. You have to, to sell out sometimes and play man coverage. And you know what? Zion McCollum and Jamel Dean played man coverage today.
Jamel Dean was tremendous against DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, first of all, there should have been 2 offensive pass interference penalties on DeAndre Hopkins with Jamel Dean covering him. But nonetheless, they still got the stop. Exactly. So it wasn't even, that type of situation where you had to complain about it. Jamel Dean, we've given him some criticism this season. This was his best game of the season. He was fantastic against DeAndre Hopkins. 3 catches, 27 yards today, right? The Titans only had 1 play more than 20 yards, and that was that 29-yard catch and run screen by Phillips, right, where he followed his blockers and did a great job. As you mentioned, Winfield finally came down with the interception. That'll help him get to the Pro Bowl. He now has filled out every box in the stat sheet other than safety and defensive touchdown. Maybe that's coming later this year. But really, it just Kalijah Kancey now, we've seen his impact. And I was talking to Kalijah after the game, and these tackles for loss, when you get tackles for loss, and these were impactful. This is not just like a one-off play, right? These are tackles for loss that led to punts, right? These are tackles for loss on first and second down that led to errant throws on third down or third down passes that are short of the sticks. These are like sacks. Yes.
These, when you have that many and you slow down the running game, those tackles for losses are essentially sacks. And they did a phenomenal job playing team defense. And I'd say I give Todd Bowles a lot of credit. I criticized him sharply last week. He deserved every bit of criticism. But for deploying Devin White the way that he did today, Devin White is a player that honestly is not good in coverage. He just still isn't. But when you say go attack the line of scrimmage, and he and Levante David were double mugging the A-gaps an awful lot. One of them was dropping, one of them was coming. Sometimes they were both coming. It gets Devin doing what he does best. And it's kind of frustrating that it kind of took as long as it did. But maybe the light switch has come on a little bit and they've knocked off this, cover 3 quarters, spot drop the linebacker, soft zone coverage, because this is what it can look like when you allow this Buccaneer defense to attack, get after the quarterback. And we saw some really kind of funky, interesting formations. We saw Vita Vea line up at defensive ends, to get this sack. Kalijah Kancey, I think, when you look at the at the all-22, you're going to see him line up at defensive end, maybe even more than he did defensive tackle today in their 4-man front. They went an awful lot with Yaya Diaby at one defensive end. Kalijah Cansey at the other, Vita Vea and Logan Hall in the middle. That's a pretty big, strong, fast lineup right there of 4 down defenders that really gave the Tennessee Titans fits, especially in the second half.
Yeah, I love seeing those little tweaks. Maybe it's just because I don't like watching Joe Tryon-Shoyinka and I like having Yaya Diaby in the game a little bit more. And that was fun to see. That's something we've been asking for. Devin just playing better. It makes it, when he plays like he did today, Devin White is so much fun to watch. When he's running around like his hair is on fire, getting after the quarterback. What's just frustrating is you want to see that from Devin every single week. And you know what?
Right.
That got me thinking about when Devin was asked this week. He was asked about how would you assess your play? And essentially he said, I'm just doing what is called for me. So he was kind of like taking a little bit of a shot at Todd Bowles. And I think that was Devin's way of saying, hey, man, like, let me just run and let me just get after the quarterback. So I hate that whether it was like benching Luke Edeke last season or playing man-to-man today or getting
just
Devin
slow to come around, right?
I hate that we almost have to like berate Todd Bowles at our weekly press conferences to get him to make those changes. But when he finally gets around to making those changes, it's absolutely for the better. So I absolutely loved the little tweaks that we got. If Devin can continue to play like this, I still don't think he should get the contract that he wants. But Devin will help himself out so much more just with a consistent level of play. And Kalijah Cansey is really, really coming on. I mean, he's still an infant playing in the NFL with all the time that he missed. And he is, and Todd Bowles has said this before, disruptive. He is turning, he's not a game wrecker yet, but his imprint is all over that game. He is, he's going to get there sooner rather than later. This was a very Todd Bowles style of game, you know? Like the offense didn't, Baker had the interception early in the game. That was an arm punt. I really have no issue with that at all.
It really was.
You know, it was 3rd and long. They weren't in field goal range, whatever. You try taking a shot. But this was a Todd Bowles game. You lead with your defense. The defense gets stops. The offense takes advantage of situations. And then you have a 2-touchdown lead, and you're essentially just milking the clock. So very much a Todd Bowles recipe of a victory today. And we got a super chat from Bucs Basement. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, Bucs Basement, who says, sorry, but I'd rather lose the division because I want Bowles fired. And if we win this putrid division, he stays and Bucs are going nowhere with him as head coach.
You know, it's interesting. Don't quote me on this, and we'll see how they finish out. I'm kind of talking at a turn here a little bit, but let's suppose they win the division. I think that Blazers need to see some progress, and that might mean a playoff win, right? In terms of progress. I mean, if you're going to set the standard and expectations are going to be high, and you win the division, let's say you win it at 9-8, so you win one more game, you get a home playoff game, and you lose that. We've seen Tony Dungy fired after 3 straight years of playoff berths in 99, 2000, 2001. We've seen John Gruden get fired after going 9-7 in a season, not making the playoffs, but he had just been signed to a multi-year contract extension that year, Matt. So we've seen the Blazers when they feel the time is right to make a change, whether it's an easy call like Lovie Smith, right, finishing 6-10, or Raheem Morris in that memorable 4-12 season where he lost the last 10 games of the road. Those are easy calls to make, Matt. But we've also seen the Blazers make some really tough calls too. And I think for Todd Bowles to really stay off the hot seat and kind of to piggyback on this question here, do you guys think Todd Bowles is still on the hot seat? That defense is great today. Yeah, I think he is, only because they're still 4-5, right?
Yeah.
And guess what? They're going to be 4-6 after losing to the 49ers on Sunday. And if they win, I mean, I'll be surprised and pleasantly surprised for you Buccaneer fans and Pewter people out there. But the 49ers are a good team. They beat a really good Jacksonville Jaguars team today. And I know they had like a little I mean, they're good. So to expect the Buccaneers are going to go out there and win next week, I don't see that. I was wrong today. Happy to admit I was wrong. But Matt, if they're 4-6 next week, he's still back to where he was entering this game, which is
Yeah.
2 games under 500. So yeah, he's still in the hot seat.
And again, it's just crazy because they'll still be in contention. I mean, like I said,
Right.
the Vikings beat the Saints today. The Cardinals just scored a touchdown. They're only down 2 against Atlanta. We'll see how that game finishes up. But yeah, hot potato of not wanting to win the division is alive and well. Nobody wanting to win it. Let's get a super chat from Tristan Wirfs, who says, I've said this before. Thank you for the $4.99 super chat, by the way. I've said this before, but it needs to be said again. Will Canales ever try a new run play instead of inside zone? We have no creativity at all. Tristan, I appreciate the super chat, but respectfully, I'm going to disagree. They ran an end around today with Devin Tompkins. They've been fairly successful when they've done that, and we asked for him to do it again, and he did. They had a couple pitches with Rashad White. If you want to argue that the run game still isn't formidable and isn't doing much, you have a fair argument there. But I think at this point of the season, after 9 games, it is what it is with the run game. They're going to average around 70 to 80 yards a game. I think they ended up with 77 today, and a couple of those came from a Baker Mayfield scramble. The run game's just not that good, but Dave Canales is going to stick with it. And to be fair, the run game was all right at the end when all they wanted to do was, milk the clock and keep the minutes ticking in the fourth quarter. So, it is what it is. It's not great by any means. It's not as bad as it was a couple of weeks ago, but just kind of when I think about the
I'd like to see them do some more off tackle stuff, right? I mean, as Watt says, hit that 5 hole. Yeah, I'd like to see him a little bit more variation of that. At the same time, though, Pewter people don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. The only time you're really going to get better during the season at the run game is in games. Because how many times, Matt, you're out there at practice, they're not even wearing pads.
Yeah,
right?
You can't touch the running back. Lineman can't actually block. What are you really getting from it?
Yeah, they're going 3/4 speed. It's mostly just alignment assignment. It's, it's hand placement. It's technique work. It's not physical, right? And the Tennessee Titans have got a damn good physical, hard-charging defensive line led by Jeffrey Simmons, who wrecked a couple plays today. So I think what Canales was trying to do, and Matt, correct me if I'm wrong with how you see it, it's like we have a 14-point lead, guys. We're going to work on some running plays. And if they don't work, if we only get 2 yards rather than 4 or 6, at least we're milking that game clock. We're doing our job, right, by chewing off time and giving Levis less chances to come back, less time on the clock, et cetera. But now that we're in position with the lead, we're going to work on some of these run plays. And what better work to get than against a really formidable Jeffrey Simmons-led defensive line? And, 2 yards is better than no yards, right? It's not as good as 4 yards, but we'll slam it up in there. And I think for Rashad, too, it's like there's going to be some times where this team is going to have a lead. They're going to have to finish a game with some of those hard-charging 2 and 3 yard runs to milk the clock and to take time off. And that's why they did it today. It was predictable at the end, but that's the reason why.
Yeah, and Todd Bowles even mentioned that where, not every run by Rashad was great, but, he was physical and it wears down their defense to a degree.
Served a purpose.
Yeah, exactly. Served a purpose. I had no issue with how they ran the ball, how they ran their offense later in the game. They even tried something a little bit different. They kind of Baker flipped it to Rashad White and, a little bit different than just handing it off and say, go up the middle. When you have a 14-point lead, you just got to make sure you don't get in your own way. And so I had no issues with them running the ball. The defense was playing great. You got to force Will Levis to try to beat you in that situation, down 14. You made the Titans kill 2 of their timeouts on one of those drives. So, I thought it was done very well. And, you're going run, then you'll do a safe pass. And while Baker's been great, not turning the ball over too much, I still, at times I do worry, here comes the interception. Here comes the crazy play. And Baker does get a lot of tipped passes. It happened again today, and he had to jump and knock it down. So you just eliminate that risk completely if you run it twice and then, do a short pass or whatever it is. So no issues at all with how they ran it.
I would say if I'm going to nitpick Dave Canales a little bit, right, in terms of what he called today or didn't call, I think only getting Rashad White 2 touches in the passing game
Yeah, and one was pretty big, right?
and one was huge, right? I mean, it's like, let's run this one again, right? I mean,
yeah,
let's try some more screens. Screens are not necessarily trick plays like end arounds. You can do them more than once, right? You can run a screen to the left side, run a screen to the right, run a middle screen. There's nothing in the NFL rule book that says once you've run a screen that you can't run it again. And we saw the open field ability once again for Rashad White, who he had a 43-yard touchdown a week after having a 33-yard catch and run, right, against Houston, Matt. So here you've got two majorly explosive plays in the passing game for Rashad White, where I want to see the ball in his hands more in space. He was targeted 3 times. He had 2 catches for 47 yards. What would have happened with, say, 2 or 3 more catches? We'll never know. But maybe you design some of those throws, those little outlet passes to get him in space one-on-one where he can do some damage rather than slamming it up in there, because that is kind of a safe pass, Matt, like you were talking about. Maybe instead of running the ball, midway through the fourth quarter for 2 yards, maybe try a little dump off pass, a really quick throw to Rashad, where it ends up going for 12, right? It just, you're making Rashad White more productive in that situation.
1,000,000%. I also like when they do a little play action screen pass. That's like even like creativity on top of creativity with the screen pass. And I'm absolutely with you. I mean, Rashad has proved it at this point. Again, say what you will about the running game, but this is the 3rd time in a row he's been so effective as a receiver. So it 2 games in a row with the 100 scrimmage yards. It's like, all right, nice. Like it's a trend. He's doing it every single week now. And he's become such a factor in this offense. He's their 3rd weapon. You may even make a case that he's your 2nd weapon. And then you have Chris Godwin to fill in the blanks here and there. Because it really is all Mike, Chris, and Rashad.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like Trey Palmer had the really nice catch. It didn't count, unfortunately. Yeah. Cade Otton, I'm not going to bank on him having a game like he did against the Texans with the 2 touchdowns.
That was more of the outlier, right?
Exactly.
He kind of came back down to earth today, 2 catches, 10 yards, etc.
Way more of the outlier. And I'm not knocking Trey Palmer or Cade Otton. It's just, it is what it is at this moment with the Bucs offense. And they still scored 20 points. Scott, I have to ask you, though, before I forget, what was the reaction in the press box when Tristan Wirfs picked up the ball and started running?
Everyone started like kind of laughing, it's like big man with the ball, right? But the incredible thing is when you watched the replay of it, first of all, it's like a scoop and score type thing. It's not like he's falling on it like most linemen. They're going to try to fall on it like a hand grenade, right? That's kind of what you're coached to do. Tristan's an athlete. He's like, oh no. He's like, no, I'm not falling on this. I'm going to scoop and score this thing. So he immediately scoops it and then goes to tuck it and then throws a stiff arm. Right?
Yeah.
I think he's very disappointed. I didn't have a chance to talk to him after the game, but I think he's very disappointed that he did not get his first carry, because that would have counted as rushing yards for Tristan Wirfs. But maybe with him showing what he can do, maybe Dave Canales puts a package in down the goal line. I don't know. He's probably better off at left tackle. I'm just saying. But
that would be so. That would be so awesome. I knew the play wasn't going to count. Clearly, Baker was down, but I wanted it to count so badly just so he could add to his Hall of Fame resume that he has like a couple of rushing yards and his average yards per rushing attempt is like through the roof. But anyway, I was curious to get your opinion on that. We got a $5 super chat from Furu Kawab. Thank you for this super chat, who says we're heading into week 10, and yet here we are with Ryan Neal still starting at safety. Why?
Yeah, this is really interesting. So, we weren't in Houston, right? We're watching the game on television, so you're limited to what we can see on the television broadcast. We had 3 Pewter reporters at the stadium today, and one of the first things I noticed was the platooning that was going on a down-in, down-out basis. Todd Bowles making plenty of substitutions. Ryan Neal was in for one play. He was out for one play. D. Delaney was in, right? I think we even saw Christian Izien playing safety maybe a couple plays, because I saw there was a play or two where both Delaney and Neal were out. But yeah, it was, a constant platooning. And I thought that was good. And it wasn't just to keep guys fresh. It was situational substitutions. It was, we're going to deploy this play. We're going to deploy this package on defense. So it was not really having much to do with the weather. It was hot today. I mean, it's November in Florida. It's going to be hot. But today was like ridiculously hot.
Yeah.
But Matt, what we saw a lot of just situational. Okay, it's a potential passing down. We're going to get Ryan Neal off the field and put D. Delaney in. And so I was very cognizant of that, watching those situational substitutions. I think when you do snap counts tomorrow, Matt, you're going to see that D. Delaney's probably outsnapped Ryan Neal when it's all said and done. And a lot of that was done situationally. Of course, Will Levis can throw the ball on first down or second down if he chooses, right? Doesn't have to be just third down. But I think they looked at it and said, when are the Titans going to run the ball more likely, right? When are we going to see Derrick Henry get the ball? Probably on first down. Ryan Neal's in the game, right? And then when are they more than likely going to throw the ball? It's 2nd and 14. Derrick Henry was tackled for a 4-yard loss. All right, D. Delaney, you're in. Ryan Neal, you're out. And that's what we saw a lot today.
Yeah, and all the big moments late when you knew the Titans had to throw the ball when they were down 2 scores, when they were down 14. It was all D. Delaney in the game. He had a pass breakup as well, came close to getting an interception, which one of those plays where the receiver really became the defender on the play. So, another little implementation for a little bit of a tweak again by Todd Bowles, and hopefully we continue to see it.
Lucas.
Yeah, thank you to Lucas for this $4.99 super chat. Who says, take all of JTS's snaps and give them to Yaya and Watts. Also, do you think Antoine Winfield Jr. will make first team All-Pro? Great question. First of all, shout out to Marquise Watts, because late in the game, it was him and Cam Gill. And we've seen Cam Gill in this like spot situation before where he gets a couple snaps. That was one of the first opportunities for Marquise Watts and was fantastic. I mean, he set up the interception by Antoine Winfield Jr.
You're right. I was incorrect. I said it was Yaya Diaby. It was actually Marquise Watts that hit Will Levis as he was throwing. So, I thought he played great. Behind the scenes, we're hearing that Marquise Watts is really coming on, on. And so he helped his cause today with some really good rushes and situations. And he's going to be a guy that I think is going to be moving up the depth chart here a little bit. I think that, and maybe not this year, but next year, I think he's going to make this team, and I think he could be a factor for this team down the stretch, and certainly for next year. He's a good player.
I would love to see that, because I mean, he was a game wrecker in the preseason. I get it's preseason, you're going against 4th and 5th string guys, but like he was after the quarterback every single play. So I love that he finally gets an opportunity, immediately hits Will Levis, and it creates a turnover. I would love to see, he doesn't need to get 20 snaps or whatever, but I would love to see just like 5 snaps every game, on a third down situation where they're going to rush the passer. I would love to have Marquise Watts for like 5 plays, and let's see what he can do in that time, because I think he's definitely he's earning it. We even heard, Luke Gedeke has praised Marquise Watts for mimicking the opposing pass rusher that Gedeke's going to go against that week, and said that he's done a really good job with that. So I'm team Marquise Watts, man.
The interesting thing about what Gedeke told us, Matt, was that Watts is his go-to guy for getting Gedeke ready, because Watts plays hard and physical. He's a very physical dude for 250 pounds, like strength, like physical, like slam into you physical. But he also has got suddenness and quickness. So he can really get Luke geared up to play those speed, fast edge rushers, as well as the power guys as well. And so, I think Marquise Watts, and he had one of those 13 quarterback hits today. 13 quarterback hits are Will Levis. Levis was sacked 4 times, hit 13. The Bucs defense had 10 tackles for loss and dropped probably 3 interceptions, but finally caught one. So.
And to answer the second part of the question about Antoine Winfield Jr., I think he has all the talent and caliber in the world to be All-Pro. I don't know the stats of some of the other safeties he'll be in contention with. Obviously, the interception helps. If he can get a couple of more this season, I see no reason why he wouldn't be All-Pro, because he's doing everything for this defense.
I think really in the NFC, right, the guys you're looking at for Pro Bowl, All-Pro, the name guys. Now, Jesse Bates, right, he's got that reputation coming from the AFC to the NFC. I don't know where he is with interceptions, but he had 3 in the first 2 games of the season. And, stats, they're for losers. Stats matter, however you want to look at it. But stats get you in the Pro Bowl. Stats get you in the Hall of Fame. Stats get you contracts. They get you all pro, votes and stuff. So it's, do you fill out the stat sheet? And now Antoine Winfield Jr. does fill out the stat sheet in that important interception column if you're a defensive back. I think the other guys, the 49ers safety, Hufanga, I think he's in the mix because he's been in the Pro Bowl before, as well as Quandre Diggs up there in Seattle. I think he's a regular in the Pro Bowl, so by reputation alone, and he's a good player too. But those are the guys Winfield will kind of be going head to head against.
If there was a ranking for all pro energy drinks, I think Celsius. Actually, I know Celsius would be number one. Make Celsius your number one pick. Shout out to Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. There's so many awesome flavors. Make sure you check out the Oasis Vibe. The Cosmic Vibe is a new one as well, and you see all the great flavors there too, from the peach mango to the sparkling orange, sparkling watermelon, sparkling wild berry. The list goes on and on and on. Shout out to the Arctic Vibe as well. There's no sugar. There's no post-energy drink crash or jitters that you may get with another product out there. So if you want to find out where to get a Celsius, go to the store locator on their website, punch in your address, and it'll tell you the closest geographical location where you can pick one up. It could be a Walmart, a 7-Eleven, a health and fitness store. Or it might just be your bodega.
Bodega.
Shout out to all the bodegas. Shout out to everyone that goes to bodegas to pick up Celsius. And if you want more, you want to get it in bulk, that's when you go to Amazon, click on the subscribe and save, and you can have Celsius sent to your residence whenever you want. I'd recommend getting that variety pack because variety is the spice of life. You heard me talk about all the great flavors. But yeah, have it sent to your residence via Amazon whenever. Could be a week, month, quarterly, yearly. You're in charge. You're the captain. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks. Make Celsius your number one pick, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com.
Yep, that's great stuff. What's also great is tomorrow we're going to be doing a Victory Monday podcast, which is cool because we haven't done one of those since September.
Yeah,
I think
October 1st.
Yeah, October 1st. Okay, it's been a minute, right? So what else is great about Monday's shows is we do this thing called Roll.
That's right. Yeah, roll call is so much fun. It's just a great way that we can further interact with our fans, the Pewter people. You just put in the chat where you are watching the show from. We'll throw it up on the screen. And each show, we like to give a little shout out to people watching both in Florida, in the United States, and internationally as well. So maybe you will get picked on tomorrow's show.
Yeah.
It's
what makes Monday shows so good, right? Because it's going to be a double whammy, right? Because you have roll call tomorrow at 4:20, and it's a Victory Monday show. So we're awfully excited about that.
Absolutely. We got another super chat, and then I want to talk a little bit about Mike Evans too. Furu Kwab, thanks again for another super chat for the $5 super chat. Says, be honest, guys, how brutal is the next game against the 49ers going to be? In my honest opinion, I think it is going to be another blowout. I think the Bucs are going to get absolutely walloped, demolished, whatever word you want to use. I think it's going to be absolutely ugly. And I think it's going to go both ways. I think the defense is not going to be able to stop the 49ers, especially with Deebo Samuel back. And I would be very surprised if the Bucs scored at least 20 points in this game.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to be lopsided. I don't think they match up well with the 49ers.
They don't. Or that play calling. Because, again, you saw it with the Texans. The Texans have guys from that 49ers staff, and they put up 39 points with a rookie quarterback.
Yeah. All right, let's check this out. Mobbin for Christ 30 here says, just started taking Celsius 2 weeks ago. It's definitely the real deal. I glide through work, especially being outside. That's awesome. We love to hear that.
Yes.
And it really is, man. I've given up coffee. I'll have coffee maybe twice a month, and it's usually after, like breakfast. Just if I want the taste of coffee, but I have a Celsius every single day to start my day. And it's usually an orange or Oasis Vibe. Sometimes I'll have one in the afternoon, whether it's Oasis Vibe, that lemon lime. It's a fantastic energy drink. It really is.
Yeah, great flavor. You have it ready to go. So, it's great to start your morning. Like you wake up and you just crack one open and off you go.
Instant energy, the brain's firing. It's fantastic.
Paul, aka Florida Dreamhouse, says pay Evans, sign Baker, throw to White more often, get Godwin more involved, watch the magic happen. Yeah, so Mike, again, I said it earlier, had one of the oddest games maybe of his career. 6 receptions for 143 yards and 1 touchdown. He had an average of 23.8 yards per reception. He also had 2 absolutely terrible drops. The first drop came right at the end of the second quarter. Bucs were trying to piece together another drive before the quarter ended. It was a 3rd down play. If he makes that catch, the Bucs get the first down, and they're like right on the cusp of field goal range with under a minute to go, but they had all 3 timeouts. So you essentially can run whatever you want. That one, at least like the defender, I think got in his line of vision for like a moment, which I guess you could say could throw him off a little bit. And he was distraught on the sidelines after. Like the camera kept panning to him. I don't know if you guys were able to see it in the press box, but Mike was like so upset. He had the towel over his head in like just complete disgust with himself. The second drop was even worse. Like just absolutely. Both times that Mike dropped the ball, I was like at a loss of words. I just could not believe what I was seeing. Now, I should believe it because he's had a number of drops this season, but he's wide open in the end zone. And just dropped it. Like, so one of the craziest games of Mike's career, because stat-wise, it was fantastic. It was one of those vintage monster games that Mike Evans can put up. But those 2 drops were just awful. Awful. It cost the Bucs points both times.
Well, here's the crazy thing, right? So we asked Mike about that drop, and he actually said in the press conference after the game, I was thinking too much about which fan I was going to give the ball to, and I thought, wow, like what an absolutely honest, revealing answer. I mean, that's such a huge like no, right? Like that's a rookie mistake that a 10-year veteran is making, but he has the cojones to like own up to it and say, I'm never going to do that again. Right. It's like catch the ball first. It's like, I remember, when I was coaching Pop Warner, right. And you're teaching kids how to catch the ball when they're 6, 7, 8 years old, whatever. It's like, we would have them when they'd make the catch, right. It's like, we'd have them say the word catch. It's like catch. Right. And you say it out loud, catch. Once you say the word catch out loud, then you can do something with it. Right. Then you can turn and look and see who's around or where you're going to go or which move you're going to make. Then you can run. Right. How many times have we seen a player, start running before they've secured the ball and they drop it? Right. And it's like that was like a Pop Warner mistake that we saw Mike make. It was hit him right in the hands. There's no one around him. He's wide open. And he was thinking about which fan am I going to give this ball to? Right. Rather than catch.
It's one of those, like, you'll see it at times with receiver, a lot of times in college, obviously, because they're still kids. But like when a receiver's on the run and he's thinking about turning up the field, but he forgets to do the first part, which is catch the football. I think that's exactly. I mean, Mike explained it, so we know that's what happened. But I mean, Mike's got to. If Mike starts saying catch, I'll laugh my ass off. Listen. Mike is the greatest offensive player in team history. We love Mike, everything he does for the community and what he's done for the team. He's got to stop the drops because those 2 drops right there are not $20 million season drops.
That's right.
Like he's not going to get paid more than Chris Godwin with those type of plays on 3rd down and in the end zone, So and again, Mike really played well outside of that. He was wide ass open, probably more than he ever has been this season. And but I mean the drops, they're a concern now. You want to say, oh, it's Mike, he's great. We don't expect that to happen. It's happened too many times this season where I don't know if he can get the benefit of the doubt if he's just always going to make the big play.
I agree. I mean, he's in a contract year, right? He's in a contract year. You got to ball out in your contract year. You got to focus more than ever. And it hasn't been that consistent, steady focus game in, game out like you'd like to see it.
IJ Murray, thank you for the $4.99 super chat, says, do you think Davis being out had any impact on this defense today? This is the best I've seen the secondary play all season. I mean, shout out to Zion for playing well and Jamel Dean for really picking it up. I don't know how much of an impact it really had because the style of defense they played is actually better suited for Carlton Davis. Carlton has very much been on the record about that he's a press man type of corner. So no, I don't think it had much of an impact. I don't. Carlton obviously had an egregious game against the Texans. I know he's not getting interceptions, but outside of that, I haven't really had too much of an issue with how Carlton has played outside of the Houston game. So I think that they would have deployed the same type of stuff and probably would have found the same amount of success.
Yeah, I will say this, and this kind of speaks to Christopher Coles here. Got to believe that they can get a win in San Francisco. It's about belief, right? It's like you have to believe that you're going to win and you can win. And I think this season, if they would have lost today, another winnable game, right, against a 3-5 opponent, if they would have lost today, then I think the doubt really starts creeping in, and you can only hold the locker room together for so long, right? Yeah. At some point in time, the dam's going to break, and here this team would have been 1-4 at home today. The Boo Birds would have been out. You would have heard it, right? The Lasers would have heard it. Todd Bowles would have heard it. All of that, and the fact that they kind of took control of this game in the first half and didn't let go, and built on that 7-3 lead and got a much needed win. It gives them some confidence. And +2, whether they honestly believe they can win or lose in San Francisco, they look at the rest of their schedule and they say, this thing's not lost.
Yeah.
Right. Win or lose in San Francisco. If we win, it just furthers our cause. So let's just go out there and try to win. Right. Like we have nothing to lose because we have all these division games coming down the pike here. Right. We steal that game in Atlanta that they stole from us here. You end up beating the Saints again. You sweep them. You do what you're supposed to, sweep the Panthers. Right. And the division's there for the taking. So I think they go out there, hey, we just won. This feels great. We haven't felt this way in over a month. Mm-hmm. Let's go out there and get that feeling again, right? And let's really take advantage of this being an NFC opponent. Let's go out there and shock the world and see what happens. And if I'm Todd Bowles, I'm saying everyone's thinking we're going to lose the 49ers. So let's go out there and throw the kitchen sink at these guys.
Yeah,
let's go down guns a-blazing. And if it's 35-7, you know what? It was 35-7 last year, and we still won the division. So who cares? But let's go out there and just empty both barrels and have a shootout and just see what the hell happens. And I think this win today gives them that opportunity to do that because there's more buy-in, there's more belief. And the one thing I was talking to Kalijah Cansey in the locker room, he said everybody on defense, like what was different about this week versus last week? Everybody on defense said, like, what can I do better? Like, what little more can I give? Because if everybody gives a little more, then it's two guys trying to make a tackle rather than one. It's two guys winning one-on-ones and doubling your chances of getting a sack or a quarterback hit rather than one, right? And that's really what it was all about today. It was about everybody on the team playing a little bit better than they did. And when you have 11 guys doing that, it makes a world of difference.
Yeah, I love what you said. I think that's a great mentality for this team to have. Like, hey, F it. Like, let's try anything and win. Right. Because, I mean, it can't really get that much worse than how they played against the 49ers last year. Let's get back to that super chat because we didn't address it. Not IJ.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say as well is, I was watching the Michigan-Penn State game on Saturday, and the announcer said something I thought was great because Penn State, their offense stinks, but they tried a couple of different trick plays and things like that. And the announcer was like, yeah, well, they pretty much got to try anything because if they lose this game, they're out of, the playoff contention. So why not just try to do your craziest stuff in a must-win game? People always think like you got to save it for the Super Bowl or whatever because other teams might see it, but I'd like to see the Bucs do something like that against the 49ers in the game that they have no business winning. But anyway, let's get back to the super chats. Thanks to Meets McGee for this $5 super chat. He says, whatever happens, for God's sake, please no Bill Belichick. I can see that's a Jason Light and Glazers type of pick. From a media standpoint, I'd absolutely hate having Bill Belichick as the head coach because I know we get annoyed with sometimes how Bowles will say the same thing over and over. At least it's something. Bill Belichick doesn't say anything. So from a media standpoint, I'd absolutely hate it. And I don't know, are the winning days over for Bill Belichick? We'll see.
At some point in time, the game passes everybody, right? It hasn't passed Andy Reid yet, but he's probably the last guy standing of the old guys that really is doing things and has their team in Super Bowl contention, et cetera. I might be missing somebody, but Bill Belichick's 71 years old, right? How much longer is this guy going to coach? Are you going to open yourself to a short window where you did with Bruce Arians, where you had Bruce for 3 years, right? Now, it worked because of Tom Brady, right? It didn't work with Jameis Winston and Bruce, because that Bruce was 7-9 in his first year here. So having Tom Brady helps. Just ask Bill Belichick how much it helped Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
Unless Bill Belichick is coming with a younger version of Tom Brady, which he won't be, I don't know that is the best fit for this Tampa Bay team. And I'm not saying Bill Belichick can't coach. He can. But you're seeing with what he's doing up there without a quarterback in New England, and it just has not been the same since Brady left. And some of that defensive genius, that mastermind, it's not really working now because you don't have the other guy, the equalizer on the other side of the ball, the GOAT, to keep you in games or win you games on the offensive side.
I do wonder if he had like a good quarterback, how that would be. Like if Bill Belichick was coaching the Chiefs, like would the Chiefs have the same amount of success?
Right.
I mean, Andy Reid's offense is incredible. So, that's more credit to Reid than anything
Interesting
else.
thing about Bill Belichick, I want to say every Super Bowl win that he has is narrow margin, right? Tom Brady was only in one blowout Super Bowl, and that was when he was in Tampa Bay, not in any New England. Matter of fact, a lot of those New England Super Bowls came down to the leg of
Adam
Vinatieri, right, or Gostkowski. I mean, those guys, as much as anything that Tom Brady did, were really the MVPs because they won so many of those Super Bowls on close, field goals.
Yeah, very, very true. Thank you to Andre Apollinario for this $10 super chat. Says, Pewter people always knew. SR said it. Matt said it. Give Mike the ball. Canales finally listened. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
10 targets.
Good things happen when Mike Evans gets the football. Sometimes bad things. Sometimes there's drops. But I don't know. Again, I'd rather still keep feeding Mike, and eventually he'll make – because Mike made up for it. His touchdown today was very reminiscent. I don't know if you remember this, Scott, but they're wearing the
game.
Yes, the Rams game when they wore the pewter jerseys. Immediately what I thought of when he like bullied his way into the end zone. But yeah, I mean, I thought it was great. Like I don't think, and Josh and I were talking about this on the pregame show. Is Mike going to be the guy that gets manufactured touches like Tyreek Hill? No, and they have a different skill set, so it's not the best example. But I just think at times for the Bucs, you can't just say, oh, well, the defense is double teaming Mike. Like we just can't get him involved in the game. Like, I don't know. I personally, I don't think that's a good enough excuse to get your best player in the game. But
one guy, and I'm not sure if he was on the most disappointing list because I haven't read it yet. I've been working, but Jake Kamarden, right? Like this was a game where you're going up against the two best punters in the NFL with Ryan Stonehouse, who set the record last year for highest punting average per season. I think it was like 55.3, I want to say it was, and he was leading the league with like 56.3 this year. And Kamarden was like right behind him, like 55.8, something like that coming into the game. Stonehouse averaged 56.8 yards per punt with a 48 net. He had 2 inside the 20 and 1 touchback. He had a 62-yarder for the long. Kamarden was off today, and I don't know if it was the head-to-head going up against Stonehouse where he got a little rattled. I don't know, but only averaged 34.2 yards per kick today with a net of 29.6. Just didn't have the leg today. Had 1 inside the 20 out of those 5 punts. And one, I would say it was kind of shanked out of bounds a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like we saw the official start around the 15-yard line, and how they walk, they keep walking right when the punt goes out of bounds. And it's like he passes the 20, he passes the 25. You're like, holy crap! Like where did this ball go to bounds? I think it ended up being like the 31-yard line or something, but just not very good for.
And he kicked that one at like midfield too. Like it wasn't even
Yeah.
he didn't have that far to kick it, and
Yes,
it
exactly.
still was a shankopotamus. Yeah, not the best
Yeah.
game for Jake Kamarden, but I guess when
Yeah.
your defense finally shows up and your offense did enough, you
Yeah.
kind of
I guess this happened in the Steelers game. Quan Alexander tore his Achilles. That's terrible news.
yeah, that sucks. He had like
Big
a really
dude.
good bounce back, to his career,
Yeah.
I would say.
And speaking of bounce, boy, Derek Carr took a shot to the helmet, and then when he got hit on the ground, his head bounced and hit the turf there. So you have to wonder if Jameis Winston is going to continue to be the quarterback for the New Orleans Saints. That could bode well for the Buccaneers because the typical Jameis stat line: 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Right.
From an entertainment standpoint, I just
Yeah.
want to see it.
he helps the other team as much as he helps his own. So typical Jameis today, and that bodes well for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, as does this current score here. We're about halfway through the third quarter. 15-14, Arizona on top of the Atlanta Falcons. Boy, if the Falcons lose today, they'll be 4-6, and that bodes well for Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and that would be 3 losses in a row for the Falcons, if I'm not mistaken. So they are struggling almost as much as the Bucs are.
Exactly. Here's the thing, though. If you might be struggling to find a house here in the Tampa Bay area, or you might be struggling to sell the house. It's getting to be a really crazy real estate market, right? The interest rates are really affecting things. They're up to 8% now, which makes it a little tough to kind of navigate and negotiate this real estate market. But if you want a guy that has legitimate Pro Bowl ability when it comes to real estate, is this guy right here, Eric Gross and the Eric Gross Group. Gotten to know Eric. He's a tremendous guy. And here's the thing. You're going to want to get to know your realtor, because it's not going to be a situation where you're going to call Eric or any realtor and say, find me a house, and then all of a sudden within 24 hours, you've found a house. It takes time. You're going to want to get to know your realtor. And why not start the conversation with, hey, you're a Tampa Bay fan too, right? Yeah, I am. I'm a Pewter Report reader, just like you. And he knows this area. Eric is a Tampa native. His dad was stationed at MacDill Air Force Base. He has done hundreds of real estate transactions in this market. And with his team, they have the market knowledge, the top-notch communication, the commitment to excellence that's going to set him apart from any other realtor that you decide to call. And he's the official realtor of Pewter Report for that reason. So with 85,000 agents, part of the eXp Realty Group, the Eric Gross Group, they can help you sell your house, even if it's out of state. If you're moving to the great state of Florida, come on down. He's going to help you sell your house there and buy a house here. If you're leaving the great state of Florida, he can help you find a house out of state as well as sell your house here in Tampa. If you're moving around the great state of Florida, he's got you covered. It's like he's the best guy in zone and man coverage that you're going to find when it comes to the real estate business. So what I'm going to do is go to his website, housesinfla.com. That's housesinfla.com, or give Eric a call at 513-907-4271. You can check out his inventory either at housesinfla.com or the Eric Gross Group on Facebook or Instagram. It's Eric Gross Group. So no matter where you are on your home ownership journey, you're going to feel welcome with a new friend that you're going to make in the Eric Gross Group. That's Eric Gross himself, the official realtor of Pewter Report.
We got another super chat before we close the show. Thanks to Meets McGee for this $5 super chat, who says, I do appreciate that Todd Bowles listened to his players and it showed today. Can you tell us more about this meeting that the coach and the players had?
Yeah, Todd was asked about that after this game. And I think he could have watched the Pewter Report podcast the last couple of weeks and probably gotten the same intel, right?
Yeah,
We've been saying blitz more, play more man coverage, but it's using the players to their strengths. Jamel Dean, man coverage, Devin White attacking the line of scrimmage, going north-south rather than or I should say, putting it in drive. How about that? Put it in drive rather than put it in reverse and drop into coverage, because he's just not that great in coverage. Levante is a better dropper in coverage, and Devin is better attacking line of scrimmage. You saw that with the tackle for loss. You saw that with the sack that he had today. A lot of pressures, and That's the whole key is to, put your players in the best position to help you win. And I think Todd Bowles at times has tried too much, and we've talked about it before, Matt, to disguise this defense's weaknesses.
Yes.
Rather than play to the strengths.
Yes.
And sometimes you got to say, damn the torpedoes. We're playing to the team's strengths. We're going to trust people that know how to do their job and have them do it well. And I think that played a big role today. So as much as we've criticized Todd Bowles over the last couple of weeks, certainly last week, he deserved it. Going to give him props for deploying those players in the right way, and it showed up today. And hopefully it's lessons learned, and hopefully they can build on this and play much better football. And you know what? They got a puncher's chance, man. The 49ers are not invincible. Mm-hmm. They had 3 straight losses this year. Anything goes. I don't think that the Bucs are on their level, but maybe the 49ers don't play to their level, and maybe the Buccaneers play a little over their head and make this interesting next Sunday. We'll see.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly. That's what I was going to say, is just that it seems like the past couple of weeks they worry too much about masking their inefficiencies and their weaknesses rather than just saying, hey, this is what we do well. This is what we're going to do. And if they, if they beat us, then we tip our cap to them in that situation. And any given Sunday, the friggin' Vikings beat the 49ers without Justin Jefferson. So, anything is possible. They don't have a 0% chance of losing. That we can at least say that.
Here's the crazy thing, right? And I know they're without Justin Jefferson, and they traded Ezra Cleveland, and they have, Kirk Cousins is out. The Vikings now are 6-4. And Matt, you said this way back when. That's a key NFC win. That's a nice head-to-head win, because it could come down to playoff berth or playoff positioning. And that week 1 win over the Minnesota Vikings could come back to help the Buccaneers if they don't win the division, but maybe they're 9-8 and they still get in the playoffs like the 9-8 Seattle Seahawks did last year.
Yep.
That head-to-head win, because right now it looks like maybe the Detroit Lions are going to win that division, although, they still have to, pad their stats with some more wins. But we're seeing the Lions and the Vikings now rising up in the NFC North, while the Packers are going to pack and the Bears are going to bear.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you made that point weeks ago, and I commend you for it. It's spot on. That win still counts for Tampa Bay, and it may come into play in January. We'll see. If the Vikings and Bucs keep winning, that game in week 1 might come back to help Tampa Bay.
Yeah, every game's important. I know the players say it every single week, is this a measuring test? Well, we want to win them all. And that's the key. But even more important when you beat the NFC teams. Hey, guys, if you're not already doing so, please follow us on all of our social media on X, Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. We are at Pewter Report. And then, of course, our YouTube channel is Pewter Report TV. We got the podcast 4 times a week, including tomorrow for Victory Monday and Roll Call. That'll start at 4. Roll Call goes on at 4:20. We always have various videos throughout the week, from press conferences, things that players and coaches said. We got Pewter Picks and Props. We got the Pewter Pulse that Scott does very often. And so ton of great stuff on our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe to this video. Please leave a comment below. That actually really helps our audience grow a lot, and would really appreciate that. A lot of times we'll reply to the comments as well. Obviously, if it's, good, nothing with profanities and things of that nature. But anyway, please like, follow, subscribe, all that fun stuff. That's going to do it for us on today's show. A Bucs win feels good. It's been a while since they won. It feels pretty good. And we're going to do it all tomorrow again for a Victory Monday. But until then, for Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Bucs win. Nice. Peace out.
Antoine Winfield got that pick.